$550 million of their money out of their mattress in Texas and bringing it to New Orleans, Louisiana.
We like those sorts of investments.
And we love those sorts of investments.
Joining us now is Jim Cook, President and CEO of the New Orleans Ernest N Morial Convention Center. After a long career in hospitality, leading the Sheraton New Orleans Hotel, he's now helping to shape the future of tourism and major events in our city. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. I'm excited to be here.
It's good to see you. You've had a long, successful career in hospitality. I had the pleasure of working with you when you were on the board at New Orleans Tourism Marketing Corporation and, of course, your service with New Orleans and Company. But I got to ask you, what excites you most about leading the convention center right now?
I think for me, when I was leading the team at the Sheraton and involved in boards and organizations in our industry, I felt like I was able to have an impact on, the 450 people that worked for us at the Sheraton, and then, the maybe 1,000 or so that touched the work in that building. Right. Now I have the ability to not only touch the employees of the convention center, but our entire industry. And I feel that in a very positive way, that I can now be a part of helping to shape the future and, frankly, bringing people to work across the city.
Yeah, it's true. Hospitality industry provides that gratification for people who are in the business. You're of service and you're influencing people's feelings about the city on a daily basis, as you did at the hotel with all the associations and groups that came through the hotel and visitors. Many visitors I know, particularly for the Jazz Fest, because it's been the headquarters property for many years as going into the past. But now with the convention center, we talk about the impact that it now has on the entire economy. The Sheraton had an impact on the economy, but the convention center, talk about that as the economic engine that it is.
When you think about the vision of Mayor Ernest N. Dutch Morial, at the conclusion of the World's Fair, and he's contemplating what happens with the Louisiana Pavilion, and he had a vision for this concept that New Orleans needs a convention center. And this was in 1984. And what an incredible vision to think about conventions as an economic engine for our entire city. And now with 3 phases added on, to date, over $93 billion in economic impact.
Amazing.
And you think of literally the tens of thousands of lives, potentially even hundreds of thousands of lives impacted by the vision that he had then. And we've continued to prove his vision true as we bring people to work all over the city.
Yeah.
And, we think about the people that touch the work directly, and it's amazing the strength of what we do that is indirectly touching it, because you bring employees to work at the hotels and the restaurants and the shops, and we have tour guides and bus drivers and security people, and then they all need healthcare support, and they all pay doctors and lawyers and child care. Yeah. And so the ripple effect across our community is incredible.
It touches so many small businesses, so many people, and as you rightly say, it has given careers to so many people. I met someone that works for you that has been with the convention center, I think, since the first show in 1985.
Yep.
Amazing.
We actually have a couple of employees that worked the World's Fair and ended up becoming first employees at the convention center.
That's right, because the convention center, it was built around the fair, was built for the fair, but with the, as you say, for the express purpose to become the future of New Orleans convention hosting.
That's right.
Amazing. Let's go back to the Sheraton for a moment. How did you find that experience set you up for this role that you now have?
The great thing about my experience at the Sheraton is that I have a sense of the hospitality landscape and the eco-structure of hospitality in New Orleans. I have connections with folks on all different elements of that I formed as part of my role. And I know many of the customers because we worked with many of the same customers. And so I understand what's important to them. I understand why they make selections. And I'm able to partner with my team. And it really is just a matter of scale. I laughed the other day because I said, well, we have a group of just 3,000 coming in. And I said, I used to say that when it was 200 people at the Sheraton. Now it's just
I was about to ask you,
3,000.
what's the difference between the two? I think you just answered
I think
it.
scale
Numbers.
scale is clearly a big difference.
When a major convention comes to town, what does that really mean for local businesses? Plopping themselves in the middle of the convention center, but it probably also has impact on hotels and restaurants outside of that too, right?
It absolutely does. In fact, we just wrapped up a convention that was about 18,000 people. And so these were all cardiac experts, doctors, academics, et cetera. And they had activity in the convention center during the day. So they needed hotel rooms, places to stay. Many of the vendors that are in the trade show wanted to host events off-site. And so they rented venues off-site and brought people to work at those venues.
Right.
They needed transportation because they were coming from hotels across the downtown area. And so we had, I think, about 12 or 14 buses running at all times. We had the security teams it takes to secure all of the aspects of their meeting, the production teams that it takes. I think just the setup was over 500 people involved in just setting the room before the customers got there.
Amazing.
And so then you add in the restaurants that they eat at, the shops that they go to, the museums that they visit, and hopefully in that experience coming purposely for a convention, they decide that this is a great city to bring their family to and come back for a leisure visit.
And Stephanie Turner and Walt Lachey have spoken to this before as well. When you have these large groups, particularly scientific groups, whether it's cardiology, pediatrics, psychiatry, they're also presenting papers, and they're making history. They're making science, and that's important. It's all coming out of New Orleans. There's a lot of business that goes along with
That's
this.
right. In fact, I walked a couple of the team members from G&O Inc. through while they were setting up and showed them the diversity of companies that were represented in that trade show. And to your point, the portion of the show that was showing academic papers was actually a full hall, so over 100,000 square feet of cutting edge academic papers being presented during the show. I mean, when we bring these conferences in, typically these are the best of the best
Right.
in that field in the world coming to the city and convening purposely to learn from each other and propel the work forward.
Right, and you said it, in the world. I mean, we have delegates coming from across the globe into New Orleans for these important meetings.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So what trends are you seeing right now in the convention and meetings business? We went through COVID, meetings got smaller, they got more remote, people were Zooming in, but are you seeing that flip a little bit more and people are wanting to convene personally?
Yes, there's absolutely, while many are still continuing with some hybrid components, there is a clear understanding in our industry that business gets done face to face because you want to do business with people who you trust and who you understand. And the best way to accomplish that is face to face. And we are seeing that as a trend. From a convention center standpoint, there was a period while we were growing and adding phases to the convention center where bigger was better. And now there's a dynamic in play where it's not only bigger, right? And depending on the size of the event, they need specific sizes to meet their needs. But once that's met, you move into better is better. And what else am I getting in my experience? What's the physical condition of the space my attendee will be in? Will it meet their needs? And then what's the experience outside the building that my attendee will experience? And will that meet their needs
Right.
compared to what they can find elsewhere? And that's been a big part of the strategic work we've been doing relative to what's next at the convention center.
Well, speak to that because we're talking about competition. Other cities have read our playbook. They're trying to up us on everything. The convention center is going through a major retrofit, a major renovation. Speak to that and how it affects why people would want to come meet in our building instead of another building.
The first component of our renovation, which began about 3 years ago, was about $560 million. And the idea behind that was to take the areas where the attendees touch and feel and experience and make sure that's the best that it can be. And so we focused on our lobby areas, our meeting space, but also we focused on the things that impact the total experience. So is the HVAC working the way we need it to, so that the temperatures can be maintained, controlled, and adjusted? Because remember, some of the equipment in our convention center dates back to when we started in phase one, over 40 years ago. And so we've continued, as we've done this renovation, we've been thoughtful about what's behind the wall, what's visible to the customer, and then also how does the customer interact with that space. And so in our meeting spaces where we have common areas, we're adding some thoughtful seating that creates spaces to sit and meet ad hoc. Because again, face-to-face is where business gets done, and we're providing those opportunities. If somebody needs to duck away to make a phone call, they can do it. And now we're also in the middle of a public art process or an art program using local artists. We have over $2 million that we anticipate spending to bring the art of local artisans into the center so that people have a sense of where they are. Because when people are in New Orleans, we want them to know they're in New Orleans and not some convention center anywhere.
Well, I know how important the environment is for a delegate or attendee for whatever reason they're there. They also are in a neighborhood, a very important neighborhood, the Warehouse District, and just upriver from the facility itself. Y'all have taken that on very responsibly, I might add, and talk to us about what's happening in the neighborhood around the convention center.
Sure. So, as you said, historically we've been part of the CBD, part of the Warehouse District, and we're in the Lower Garden District, but you don't feel that because much of what surrounds us is parking and open space. The 39 acres that represent the new River District that's in development now will bring us to the Lower Garden District, bring the Lower Garden District through to us, and hopefully long-term there's a vision to be able to open the river on this end of the convention center to our neighbors in the Lower Garden District, which they have not had in way too long.
Yeah. And then we have a very important project happening right across the street from the convention center on Convention Center Boulevard. It is the promise of headquarters property, which has long been coming and long been needed. Talk to us about the Omni Headquarters Hotel and the importance of that.
Sure. For well over a decade, we've been hearing from our customers that the one thing that is making us less competitive is the lack of large convention center hotels directly adjacent or headquartered to the convention center. The Omni project, which is located at the Omni New Orleans project, located at the site of the existing sugar mill venue, right? It's really a venue, is one that meets that need in a big way, and it's a really exciting project. We tried very hard to do something upriver, and we couldn't get the economics, the financing to work right. In this particular case, we have a developer that's, as I like to describe it, bringing $550 million of their money out of their mattress in Texas and bringing it to New Orleans, Louisiana.
We like those sorts of investments.
And we love those sorts of investments. So exactly. They and clearly they need a return, and there's a package to try and make that happen for them. But ultimately, their excitement about New Orleans is something we should all be excited about.
Right, because it provides us to be competitive, more competitive with the cities like Nashville, Austin, Dallas, Houston. You name the city that read our playbook, and they're doing this. And we need to not only keep up with the Joneses, but do one better. And I think the project is going to provide that because it's going to touch so many different aspects of our community.
We have always been successful because when we can provide an equivalent product to another city, our culture beats that city hands down for our diversity, our authenticity, and the way that people deliver it in a way that's just part of who they are. We genuinely appreciate having people visit our city, and they can feel that when they're here. And that's something that's really hard to replicate. And so our ability to continue to ensure that the other items we provide that other cities do, like hotel inventory, like the diversity of our restaurant scene, the culture that they experience, all of those elements, the quality of the convention center itself, are critical for us to stay competitive, because cities that we never saw on our radar are now on our customers' radar as options. And so we do need to recognize that if we don't move forward, we will fall behind. It's impossible to stay where we are if we don't continue to invest going forward.
Well, we hear that, smart cities and great cities grow, and this gives us an opportunity to continue being a great city.
That's right. It's time to have the vision we did in the 80s to think about how we move forward into this next generation.
Hospitality is all about people. What's a moment in your career that really stuck with you?
I think there's been a lot. It's interesting when you look back as a operations leader, especially, which is how I came up. As much as I get joy from a big sale or from watching somebody that's worked for me reach a threshold, when I look back at the things that were most impactful on me, it's the most difficult times. And we sort of have no lack of diversity in the things that we face in hospitality, but seeing a team, whether it's even what feels difficult at the moment, like we need to take a ballroom and make it go from a meeting for 1,000 people set classroom style, and we have 45 minutes to make it into a dinner where they'll be doing an award ceremony
with tablecloths
and it's all
centerpieces.
hands on deck and everybody makes it happen. Like, to me, those have always been the most fulfilling opportunities. Watching the team pull together as one and make things that happen that we were completely against the odds.
Yeah, that still motivates you.
Absolutely. I love seeing it. In fact, now at the convention center, I get to see it in scale because not only are they in flipping tables, they're driving forklifts and moving boom lifts. So it's.
Yeah, I want to ask you, how many miles a day do you walk?
So I'm still in about the same point, right around 10,000 steps a day, depending on the where I need to be in the center at any given time. But my favorite thing to do, which is the same as it was at the Sheraton, is if I have 30 minutes on my own, to just simply go up, walk around, and say hi to my team.
Yeah. Do they give you a little scooter at least?
No, I have not leaned in on any of those
You're
yet.
not doing that. All
yeah.
right. Let's just talk about your experiences in New Orleans. You're such a great community supporter. You've been here for so many years. I got to ask you, what's your favorite spot to bring guests in from out of town? Besides, I'm sure you might recommend the Sheraton. Or go by see the convention center, but where do you take your friends when they come in?
So as opposed to going with something that is there every day, the one thing that I love to show off is the Young Leadership Council Wednesday at the Square.
Oh yeah. And
to me, the reason I love that is that it brings together folks from New Orleans that choose to be there, that work in the neighborhood, or that simply drive in for it. And it's on like any given Wednesday. And I love that fact. So I love when I have guests out of town on a Wednesday, I say, no matter what we're doing while we're here, we're stopping by, and I need you to just stand in the middle of this and look around and experience what's happening, because this is unique to New Orleans. Yeah. And it's just a sense of everybody just enjoying themselves and listening to incredible music. And you could be in a suit, you could be in a pair of shorts and a T-shirt. There's lots of folks with their dogs and their kids and everybody just gathers to celebrate the fact that it's Wednesday and we like being together. And that is so quintessential New Orleans for me.
Now, do you also take them to your favorite restaurant or one of your many favorite restaurants?
I do. It depends.
You can eat at Wednesday at the Square. They have lots of great food.
There's actually some
there.
great. That's true. That's true. From a restaurant standpoint, there's several that I like to duck into or kind of try. I love Mr. B's for lunch is a fun drop in the quarter, but I also like to break out and show somebody a Mandina's on a Tuesday, right? And so just to get a sense of being there. When you get a classic New Orleans experience, you kind of look around. It's kind of like Betsy's for breakfast, right? It's
Love Betsy's for breakfast.
Drop in and kind of look around and laugh at who's choosing to meet at the same time you are. So
I'm glad you mentioned Betsy's. That's a quintessential breakfast hangout on Canal Street, right off of Broad.
Right.
Really good. What's one word that you want to use to describe the future of New Orleans tourism?
I think one word for us is we are and will always be welcoming in a way that only we can be. And it really is our secret sauce. When I talk to meeting planners about why New Orleans, it's a combination, frankly, of welcoming and teamwork.
Yeah.
And the way that our industry works together is unique to our city. And having worked in 5 or 6 cities and experienced different levels of collaboration across the teams that are there, it really is a competitive advantage for us. Our hotels understand that to win a piece of business, we all need to partner in a way that makes the customer feel they're getting the benefit that they need. And the way that our New Orleans and Company and the convention center and the restaurants and the hotels all partner together to pull off big events and to make those bids, those that are so compelling that they choose us over others, is unique. And not only do we do it at the bid, but we deliver it when they're here. And again, that's a difference for many cities. It's one thing to promise something 6, 7 years in advance. It's another to deliver it when they arrive.
Right.
And we truly deliver that when they
And
arrive.
you speak to the teamwork for a moment. You've got a very solid board. You've got a team that has been together for a long time. Speak, if you would, to the talent around you.
Yeah, it's incredible. You walk into organizations new, and I've walked into many brand new in my career, and you think about how much rebuilding you need to do, and I truly walked in feeling like I just need to make sure I don't break anything in my first year because things work so well. We have an average tenure of over 9 years in our building out of 450 people. As you said, we've got folks that have been with us since the building opened. Our team is incredibly respected, not just locally, but nationally, in a very real way. And so we're fortunate that we have a team of professionals that have chosen to stay with us. We actually just won the USA Today Best Employer Award for 2026.
Congratulations.
And thank you. Yeah, we're very excited about that. But it speaks to the culture that we've developed, and the customer feedback is what speaks to the professionalism of our team and the way that we execute.
And customer feedback is so important because I know you develop the convention center's ability to meet the meeting needs by listening to the meeting planners, what their needs look like. Obviously, that's why the convention center, the headquarters hotel, is so important. If someone hadn't been back to New Orleans in a few years, what would surprise them most when they came back? What would they see that would make them scratch their head and say, "What? This is different"?
Well, hopefully, if they come in 4 years, they'll see the new Omni ready to open. And that is an interesting piece, right? I mean, if you think landscape-wise, we've really not changed our landscape much. One of the things that is different, which is launching this week, is the expansion of the park along the river to where we now have 2 miles of contiguous river space. And hopefully, as I said, in a few years, we begin to think about how we open up the river on the other end of the convention center.
Right.
And are able to do it both. So I think those are truly dramatic changes. And within a couple of years, as you walk outside of the convention center, you'll see our new exterior coming up and what that could look like. I really think we are poised to see what could be a generational change in the whole customer experience along the convention center campus within the next 4 years, which will be fantastic for the city.
Jim, it's been said so many times that the convention center is such an economic engine, and I know those words sometimes are used maybe too often, but you cannot get over the fact that that meaning is so important to this community and really to the state of Louisiana. So thank you for taking over the helm and leading the way and for the great things that are ahead for the community with your leadership. Thanks for being with us.
Well,
we
thank
appreciate
you, Mark.
you spending time with us. And continued best wishes.
Thank you, Mark. I'm proud to be with the team at the convention center and eager to see all that we can produce together as a city over the next few years. So
All
thank
right,
you.
as we say, onward.
Onward, right?
Thank you. Hey, y'all, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and turn on your notifications. Please follow us. We've got new shows each and every week. And a very, very special thanks to all of our sponsors who are making this possible. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.